You're listening to Nintendo Briefly. This is episode 1. Welcome to a brand new show that I've been wanting to do for a very long time now. I haven't been able to do a podcast for about 3 or 4 months because my regular co-host Jake has been really busy with his work, and my occasional co-host Kian, who is just too lazy to get his driver's license, really makes it difficult to get him over here and record an episode. So while the 411 Folks podcast is on a hiatus for now, I needed something to fill a pretty large hole in my life, which is podcasting. And what better way to fill that gap by doing a show all about the number one thing I love talking about, Nintendo. So the name that I've chosen for this show tells you 3 things. Number 1, it's about Nintendo. And if you've listened to the 411 Folks podcast, you'll know that Jake and I love talking about Nintendo. We love talking about the news, the games, the consoles, just really everything about it. Number 2, this show is going to brief you on Nintendo-related topics, and I'll be choosing those topics every week, just things that I really just want to talk about. I'm going to give you my opinions and all those things. And the final thing, number 3, is that this show will be brief. It's not going to carry on like the 411 Folks podcast did for over an hour. This is just a short show, hopefully getting on there every week and just talking about Nintendo. So let's get started. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the Nintendo 3DS and how I believe it can coexist with the Nintendo Switch for years to come. Now, this topic really I just wanted to talk about this topic because of all the recent sort of stories that are out there now of people really wanting the Nintendo 3DS just to die, just to get rid of it. People are just sick of them announcing new 3DS games. They just want, games to be released on the Switch, and that is it. And I really disagree with those people because if you've listened to my podcast before, you'll know that Nintendo 3DS is my number 1 favorite console of all time. And there is such a massive lineup of games ranging from all different genres that you can play on this thing. And to top it off, it's a handheld. You can play it anywhere. Battery life is really good as well. It did come out a number of years ago, so 2011. So it is, it's not that new anymore. But with the amount of new additions that are coming out, especially with the latest one, the Nintendo 2DS XL, I mean, it looks and feels and sounds like a modern day console now. The huge difference is the actual screen, full size screen now is sort of looking a bit like a tablet rather than this sort of gadget that, the original 3DS, I guess, looked like. But, by far my number 1 favorite console, and I just don't know how people would really want that to die. I mean, if you're a Nintendo fan, you're going to love everything that Nintendo has. And just to really, look at the games that are still to come on this thing. I don't know really if these games have been out in Japan or out in America yet, but I'm going to read you a list of games that actually are on my list to still buy. So this is not every single 3DS game that is still yet to come, but this is every single 3DS game that is on my list that hasn't been released yet. And this is in Australia. So I'm going to go in order from games that are, really close to releasing until the ones that are basically in 2018 with no release date yet. So the very first one on my list is Monster Hunter Stories, which will be coming out on September 9th. So it's not too far away now, but this is a massive game for the 3DS, and it's already got huge amounts of hype in Japan. It's been out for a while over there now. It's really popular. It's even got its own anime. So this is it's another huge game for the 3DS. And the next one after that I've written down is Metroid: Samus Returns, which is another massive game. I mean, Metroid has never really been a game that I'm really fond of. I guess I kind of skipped that whole bit, especially when all the Metroid Prime games were coming out on the GameCube or Wii or whatever. I think it's GameCube that they mostly came out on. I really sort of missed that whole era and kind of skipped a lot of Metroid, but I will be picking this one up and just to give it a go. It is a remake of an older title, so we'll see how that is. The next one on my list is Pokemon Gold, and this was recently announced. Actually, it's a downloadable title. It's also coming out as a physical edition, but I think it's just got a download code in it. But this is more signs of things to come. Maybe they might be releasing Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire and even Emerald later on. Even Pokemon Crystal, which hasn't been announced yet. So they all count. And next one after that, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, which is another remake. That's another huge game coming for the 3DS. Layton's Mystery Journey. I think this is the one with Lady. It's originally called Lady Layton, I believe. But this one I think came out not long ago on mobile, and now it's coming to the 3DS. So another Professor Layton game, which I'm all for. Cold Scepter Revolt, which I really don't know too much about, but I've seen some trailers. It actually looks pretty good. More of a board game type thing experience, I guess. The next game on my list would surprise some listeners. Story of Seasons Trio of Towns. Now, if you actually have been listening to the podcast, you'll know that Story of Seasons, the original Story of Seasons, is a game that I actually bought on the 3DS and ended up returning because I really did not enjoy it. But I only played about an hour and 10 minutes of it. Didn't make it all the way through the tutorial. So I just didn't actually give it a go. But the more I sort of thought about it and the more I watched, gameplay on YouTube, people really enjoying their experiences with the game, I had to actually go back and buy Story of Seasons. And I'm actually really excited to pick that up and actually, put some real time into that game and give it a chance. So Trio of Towns is the next one in the series, which I'm really looking forward to picking up. Next one on my list is Pokemon Ultra Sun. Now, I don't actually know which one I'm going to get, Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. I actually own Pokemon Sun at the moment, so I'm still undecided on that one. But, another big Pokemon game. People are sort of saying that it's not going to be much different to the, Pokemon Sun and Moon, the original games, but it could be one of those things where, like Pokemon Black and White 2, so a whole new story, set with a bunch of whole new features. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. Next one on my list, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, which is a game that came out on the Game Boy Advance, I believe, probably I think Nintendo DS. And this is just a port. This one I'm really excited for. It's because all the other Ace Attorney games are available to get on the Nintendo 3DS for the mainline series. This is the only one that's missing. And I've just actually played all the way through the original Ace Attorney and making my way through that series. So I'm really excited that this one is coming so I can actually play the full story. And this one, I think, is just before Dual Destinies, which is the first Ace Attorney for the 3DS. The next game, I'm making my way down to the bottom 3 right now. So Etrian Odyssey 5. Now, I actually haven't played any Etrian Odyssey games at all. I did download and buy all of them recently because they were on special. So I'm pretty excited to get into that series. I watched a lot of it on YouTube and it looks really fun. So Etrian Odyssey 5 is just one more on my list that I'm looking forward to getting. And it's another huge game as well. Okay, so these next two, which is the last two on my list, they, I believe, will be released in 2018. So the first one is Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology, which is actually a remake. I'm not sure if it's a remake or more of a port, but I think I'm more tending to think it's a remake. But it looks like a really cool RPG. I've seen a bit of gameplay, watched the trailer, heard people talk about it, so I'm pretty keen on that. And the last one on my list, which is a massive surprise to me, I had no idea this was coming. I regularly check updates on Nintendo News, new 3DS games that are coming out, and this one just popped up out of nowhere, and I think I would still not know about it. If I wasn't looking. It's Persona Q2. And this was a game that I really wanted to play, and I saw it in shopping centres all the time, and then all of a sudden it was just gone, and I asked shopkeepers about it and they said, yeah, it's out of print, they're not making it anymore. So I was really devoted that I didn't get a physical copy, but I do have it on my 3DS as a downloaded copy, so I'm keen to get into that one. I've seen lots of gameplay. It looks really fun. So Persona Q2 is a massive surprise, but, really happy that we're getting that. Again, another massive game. Okay, so that's my list of games that I'm still yet to buy on the 3DS. I mean, and if you have a look at that game list, that is huge. Huge games still yet to come. So I'm not sure why people are talking about Nintendo 3DS is dead. Um, there's still like huge amounts to come. And that's not even counting the games that have been released or are yet to come in Japan as well, that I still believe we are going to get brought over to the West. So I'm going to read through that list of games right now. Yokai Watch 3 is the first one on that list. That game came out last year in Japan, and of course it's massive over there in Japan. We've got the original Yokai Watch, and that was a couple of years ago. Last year we got Yokai Watch 2, and I think coming up soon is Yokai Watch 2 Psychic Spectres, which is kind of like the Pokemon Yellow version of the red and blue. Sort of, that's kind of, yeah, that example there. So I'm excited to get that one. It's actually the first game to be set away from Japan and set in America. So yeah, that looks really cool. Dragon Quest XI, which recently just came out. This is a huge game, and this would be a huge game changer for the 3DS. I mean, just imagine this game coming out to the 3DS. Even if it is 2018, 2019, I hope it's actually later than earlier, because, this would really just tell us as an audience that Nintendo still care about the 3DS, especially over here in Australia. The next one is Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, which were recently just announced that those were going to be put onto the Virtual Console in Japan. So I've never actually played a Dragon Quest game in my life, but just heard really good things about them. I've got Dragon Quest 7, Dragon Quest 8. They're just sitting on my shelf waiting to be played. Just working my way through some backlog at the moment. But if those number 1, 2, and 3 come out on the 3DS, the 3DS has access to 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, and 11 potentially, all on the 3DS. So, it's going to be known for one of those systems that just has huge amounts of just awesome series on it. And it already is, but these are just things that'll just make it so much better. There's 2 more games on my list. The next one is The Snack World, and this is a game that I really haven't heard a lot about. I've seen a lot of trailers on YouTube, and it looks really good, and it's done by Level 5, who make Fantasy Life and even the Yokai Watch series. It looks really well done. I'm not sure if we're going to get it at all. Yeah, it's just too early to tell for that one. And the final game on my list for the 3DS games that are only in Japan is Monster Hunter Double Cross. Now, I believe that this one would be titled maybe Monster Hunter Generations 2 or Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, something like that. But again, really looking forward to that one as well. The first ever Monster Hunter game I ever played was Monster Hunter Generations, and I picked that up not long ago actually, and I'm really into it. So that again, if that huge list that I just read out then, so the games that are confirmed to come and the games that are unconfirmed that are Japan only, just let me count those up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 games still potentially yet to come. So if all that actually happens, I mean, that just adds to my lineup of massive 3DS games still yet to come. It's really exciting stuff. And I haven't bought a Switch yet. I haven't actually got a reason to buy it yet. And I really think that the 3DS and its lineup already at the moment can satisfy me for a number of years to come. There's just so much on there. And so many huge games, so many games that take, hours and hours to get through. If another game doesn't get released for a number of years, I'd actually be pretty set with the games that I've got. So yeah, it just really annoys me that there's so many articles out there that are just hoping for no more Nintendo 3DS releases, just Switch games. It's really refreshing to read an article about, the 3DS is still kicking, it's still going, it's still alive. And I just want to see more of those articles around because, after reading that list, it's pretty obvious that it is. It is going to be around for a while. Nintendo releasing a new Nintendo 2DS console and having that as its sort of primary selling focus, that's evidence there that they're still caring about the Nintendo 3DS. So yeah, I mean, that should about do it for Nintendo Briefly episode 1. I just wanted to sort of have a discussion about the topic of Nintendo 3DS, and it's still alive, it's still well, and I really think that it's still got a number of years left in it. I would say that would be probably seeing the end of it towards the back end of 2019. So yeah, and if it really does make its way into 2020, even early on, then it'll be pretty much close to a decade of Nintendo 3DS greatness. So yeah, really happy for it. Alright, thank you so much for tuning in to Nintendo Briefly episode 1. Can't wait to get into this and get these episodes out and just talk Nintendo. Thanks guys, see you later.